Good afternoon. Today is the 18th of October and this is the first video that I'm recording since first. It's interesting, I've not been particularly well. I've had the coronavirus and it's taking a fair amount of time to recover from it, but I feel today I'm strong enough to try to make a video, and that's what we're going to do, as we normally do once a month. We're looking at the top 10 best-selling cars of last month, and in this particular installment it's the top 10 best-selling cars of September 2021. The car market in this country is in a very peculiar state at the moment, still recovering from the effects of the pandemic, and also an associated thing where there is a global chip shortage and manufacturers just can't make cars fast enough, and so there are very big wait times on popular models like the Ford Fiesta and Ford Focus. September is generally a very big month for registrations in this country because of the plate change, and that goes back many years, where the plate used to change annually in August, and then manufacturers asked to have it twice a year, which went to March and September over 20 years ago. However, last month, and I'll call it sales rather than registrations because that's easier for me to say, wasn't really what they would have wanted to see. I can show you the statistics from the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders and see that the total number of cars registered was 34.4% down on September 2020. We'll go through the different fuel sources of cars first of all, as we generally do. One of the reasons why we don't talk about diesels on the channel is we've seen a huge decline virtually every month in what happens with the behaviour of people towards forbidden fuel. The change between September 2020 and last month was a 77% decrease. The market share has gone from 14.3% in September 2020 to last month just 5%. Extraordinary. There's all the proof you need as to why we don't talk about it. Mild hybrid diesels though, that's actually been a bit different. The market share has increased from 4.1 to 5.3%. That's actually a minus 15% change overall, but that's because the figures are down by about 34%. The biggest sort of mild hybrid diesel I could think of is something like the current Kia Sportage that's being replaced soon. Petrol, again a very big change. Market share in September 2020 was about 54%. It's now 44%, and because of the overall decline in the market, the percentage change is about 47% down. Mild hybrid petrol, which is almost entirely do excuse me if I cough. I'm not contagious anymore. I'm not now. Mild hybrid petrol, that's a lot of cars now. Ford Focus, a lot of Suzukis, etc. That is still a change down by 10% on September 2020, but the market share has actually changed as well. It's gone up from 9.3% to 12.7%. By contrast, petrol, just pure petrol, has gone from 54% to 44% in the same period. Battery electric vehicles, that's things like Teslas, Volkswagen ID3s and everything else. That's gone from 6.7% in September 2020 to 15.2% last month. That's actually a 49% increase. It shows you the way that we're going ahead of the government wanting to completely ban the sales of completely fossil fueled cars by 2030. Excuse me. Dear me. Right, so that's the general things. Let's just go down now to the private fleet and business sectors here. Private sales are down by about 25.3%. The market share has changed from 42% last September to 56% last month. The fleet sector is actually down as well. Private sector has seen a 25% decrease. Fleet has seen a 43% decrease, and the market share has changed from 48% or 48.5% September 2020 to 42% last month. Business sector is not really a factor here. On a total of 215,000 cars, the business sector only registered 4,300, so it's not really significant particularly. What is significant though is what we see in the top 10 best-selling cars of last month. The top selling car was a Tesla Model 3. Again, often it does pop up, but then it goes out of it kind of goes out of the top 10 for a while. And I think one of the reasons for it is that these are registered in batches, these cars, and they come in all together rather than sort of being dribbled out to dealers, because Tesla don't really use traditional dealers. So this is likely to be the car that has the top sales of any given month, and it's about 6,900. Second is the Corsa, 5,200. Then the BMW 3 Series, I don't particularly know why, 4,790. Then the Toyota Yaris, 4,360. Popular car, the Yaris. Then the Qashqai, I don't know whether this is the new or old model. That has been replaced very soon. About 4,100. Just ahead of the Kia Sportage, that's also about 4,100. I think that's still the old model. Volkswagen Polo, about 4,000. Then the Toyota Aygo, an eighth, for no particular reason, I don't understand that. About 3,900, maybe some good deals on those. Kia Niro, perennial favourite, I've actually tested one of those on my channel. 3,800. And then the Golf, which just kind of sells because it sells, really. 3,600. Now we're going to look at the individual breakdown by brand. This is a bit taxing to kind of do, so if I get some of this wrong, then do forgive me. I'll try to go relatively slowly, particularly with my brain still on 100%, so that might help me actually a bit to get things right. Remember, this is registrations we're talking about as opposed to sales. I mean, the sales could have been made months ago. So Abarth, just one model in this country. Their market share was 0.8%. It is now 0.14%. The change has been quite significant. You know, we're talking about a 34% decrease in the market overall, but their decrease has been 47%. Alfa Romeo, last year, 0.1% market share. This year, 0.12%. That's still a decrease in terms of overall sales of 24%, but it's not too bad. Alpine have had an increase in sales, but that's from like 10 cars last year to 23 last month, so it's not that significant really. Audi, though, traditionally a very strong brand in this country, actually. Top 5 for sure. They sold 12,300 cars last month. And that might sound great, and it's a 5.72% market share. But bear in mind, last year they sold 22,000 cars in September, and it was a 6.6% market share. That's actually a big decrease, it's about 44%. Bentley, the sales aren't that significant, so we won't cover them too much. BMW, another kind of top 5 manufacturer in this country now. Last month they sold far more cars than Audi, just short of 16,000, 7.3% market share, but it's a 26% decrease on last year. when they had a smaller market share, about 6.5%, but sold 21,000 cars. Citroën, now it's a 21% decrease. It's gone from 1.7% of the market to 2%, despite that, and they sold about 4,300 cars. Cooper is not a brand, but apparently we can compare, like for like, so we'll skip it. Dacia, kind of similar figures to Citroën actually. Still a 27% decrease, but they've gone from 1.6% of the market to 1.8%. Although they've sold many fewer cars, it's almost 4,000, and with the new models that they've got out, that's probably going to increase their market share. DS, a small player in this country, and that generally, but quite a big increase, 13.8% when you compare last year to last month. And they've gone from 0.14% of the market to 0.25%, and about 530 cars sold, which isn't bad. Fiat, quite a strong show for them actually. A 13% decrease in the market in their sales. However, an increase from 1.3% market share to 1.76% and about 3,100 cars sold. Mainly due probably to that 500 electric that I tested on the channel quite recently. Ford, traditionally Britain's best-selling brand of car, they've sold, and I just did a check this, they've sold 5,000 cars fewer than BMW. A lot of it is due to the supply problems that they're having, but some of it will be just due to the fact that people want to buy luxury brands, even if they're not really luxury brands, if they're more common than Ford, are they? 62% decrease in overall sales. Market share has gone from 8.6% to 5%, and they sold just under 11,000 cars. Genesis, Hyundai's new luxury brand. I imagine the 27 cars showing here are mainly sold, dealer demos or cars that are used for PR and things. Honda, 9.5% decrease. Their market share was 1.8%. It's now 2.5%. They've actually sold fewer cars this year, about 5,400, but because that's so much more than the general trend, they've done quite well. And they're at 2.5% of the market, which is really good. Hyundai, again, have done very well, 5.25% increase. Last year's market share was 3.6%. It's now 5.7%. Number of cars hasn't dramatically risen. It's gone up by about 800 to 12,250, but they're making inroads in the market as a Kia. We'll get onto them in a second. Jaguar, not particularly good, 54% decrease. They sold 4,000 cars in September 2020. They only sold 1,844 last month. Their market share has gone from 1.2 to 0.9. Jeep, a brand that's done okay in the UK market recently. Don't know if any particular models have stood out, but they are on a 6% increase. They were 0.26 of the market, now they're 0.4, just under 900 cars sold. Kia, Hyundai's partner brand, better selling in this country, maybe due to the 7-year warranty. 12% increase. They were 4.54% of the market. They're now 7.7% of the market. And they sold just under 17,000 cars. Wow. 17,000 Kias. Land Rover. 53% decrease, was 3.5% of the market, now 2.5%. About 5,300 cars sold. No idea particularly why that would be. Lexus, not too bad, 20% decrease. They had 1.13% of the market, now got 1.4%. So even though they've had a decrease, it's still increased the market share because of the averages. Just under 3,000 cars sold. Maserati is a tiny brand. It went from like 77 cars last year to 115 this year, so not particularly significant really. Mazda, 26% decrease, which sounds terrible. It was a 1.8 to 6% market share last year. Last month though was 2.1 and 4,500 cars sold, so not disastrous for them at all really. I like a lot of their new cars, I just think they're a bit expensive. Mercedes-Benz, traditionally quite a strong player in the market. They certainly top 5 generally in terms of manufacturers, although look at things like Kia now, I don't know if they are anymore. 63% decrease. Their market share was 7.2%, it's now 4%. They still sold 9,000 cars, but maybe they are having really bad supply issues, I don't know. MG, unstoppable. Far more cars than even something like Mazda. 5,500, 2.5% of the market. They doubled their market share, or more than doubled. Was 1.12. That's a 49% increase. What can I say? Mini, not particularly good. 55% decrease. Their market share was 2.77% last year. It's now 1.9, and they've sold under half the number of cars they sold in September 2020. Mitsubishi, not surprising because they will be pulling out by the end of the year. 97% decrease for them. They only sold 40 cars last month. Nissan, very average, a 32% decrease. They were 4.45% of the market. They're now 4.6. Despite selling under 10,000 cars, they've actually slightly increased their presence in the UK market, proportionately speaking, even though last year they almost sold 15,000 cars in September. Most of them cash guys, I imagine. Peugeot, again, quite an average showing. Was 3.2% of the market. Only a slight drop, 3.16. 6,800 cars sold last month. About a 35% decrease. Polestar, still quite a small player in the market. They're really part of Volvo. 17% increase, but that really only means last year 218 cars, this year 256. Not significant numbers really. Porsche, 52% decrease. Don't really know why. Their market share has gone down from 0.48 to 0.35, and they sold 752 cars last month. Seat and Skoda always come together on the chart and often have similar performance. Seat, 30% decrease. Their market share has barely changed. It's gone from 2.18 to 2.3, and about 5,000 cars sold last month. Skoda, a much more dramatic decrease, 46%. They've gone from 3.3% of the market share to 2.76. They sold 11,000 cars last September. They only sold 6,000 last month. So there we go. Smart's not very significant at the moment. I'm going to skip over them. SsangYong, excuse me. SsangYong actually haven't had a bad month considering other performance I've seen from them. They had a 4.6% decrease, but in the market that's 34% down. That's not bad actually. Their market share has actually risen to about 0.17%, and they sold 373 cars last month. Subaru's increase is probably the most of all, 129% increase. We're not talking about a lot of cars particularly though. It's 272 last September. Last month was 622. which is, it's not bad. But we've still got a way to go to be anywhere like the sort of presence they are in a market like the United States of America. Suzuki, a brand that I'm quite fond of actually, and fond of their cars, didn't do particularly well last month, unfortunately. Their market share has gone from 1.65 to 1.43%. The number of cars they've sold has decreased by 43%. They only sold 3,100 cars last month. Toyota, quite strong figures for them actually. 14% decrease, nothing unusual really considering the market. Was a 6% market share, now they're on about 8%. That's pretty high. They probably are almost the biggest brand for last month. 17,000 cars sold. Vauxhall, 46% decrease, despite getting that Corsa well into the top 3. The market share has gone down from 6% to 5%, and they sold just over 10,000 cars, although much more than Ford, I think. I'll just check. Oh no, it's almost exactly the same. Ford are about 100 ahead. Pretty crazy. It's like 1980 all over again. Volkswagen, a very strong performing brand in this country. 40% decrease though for them. Market shares dropped from 8.33 to 7.6. It's interesting. So Toyota have outsold Volkswagen in this country. I don't know when the last time that happened, but it's interesting. Volvo, I don't know what's happened to Volvo really, but it seems to have sunk a bit. 55% decrease. Sorry, 55% decrease. Was 2.8% of the market, now 1.9%. But 4,000 cars sold for a brand like them, it isn't actually that bad. Although I think MG might have outsold them, yes they have. Last category we'll cover is other imports. This is the way they do it, I don't know why. But this will be Tesla Model 3s mainly. It's about 7,000 cars and a 21% increase. That's in a market of down by 24%. A total number of cars sold about 215,000. So there we are. Not the best conditions to be making a video like this, and I'm not in the best health condition myself, but we made it to the end somehow by the grace of God. So thank you ever so much indeed for continuing to watch. Please don't forget to like this video. Sorry it's not more exciting. It's about the best I can do at the moment. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. It really does kind of help actually to help the channel grow. You wouldn't realise how significant that is. And I'll see you again soon for something maybe a bit more exciting.